It started on a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were my late shift at the campus library. The place was almost empty by 9 p.m. Just me, the hum of the old air conditioner, and rows of books no one read anymore. That's when I got the first message. He said, "Hey, you dropped this earlier." There was a photo attached, my student ID card lying on a cafe table. I didn't even realize I'd lost it. I said, "Oh my God, thank you. Where are you? I can come pick it up." He said, "No need. I'm in the engineering block. I'll drop it off at the library desk tomorrow morning. By the way, I'm Ethan, third year computer science." I said, "Thank you so much. I'm Maya, second year psychology." He said, "Psychology? That's cool. You must be good at reading people then." I said, "I try, but clearly not good enough to keep track of my own ID card." He sent a laughing emoji. Something about that tiny interaction felt warm. The next morning, my ID was waiting at the library desk with a sticky note. "Found this. Thought you might need it. -E." I smiled. That evening, he messaged me again. He asked, "So, did you get your ID back safely?" I replied, "Yes, thank you again. I owe you one." He suggested, "How about coffee then? Tomorrow? As payment for my heroic ID returning services." I hesitated, but something about him felt safe, friendly, not pushy. I said, "Sure, 4 p.m. at the Bean Hub." He said, "Perfect. See you there." And that's how it started. So innocent, so normal. The first time I met Ethan in person, he wasn't what I expected. He was tall, yes, decent looking, but what struck me was how, attentive he was. He remembered things. I mentioned once that I hated loud places, so he suggested a quiet corner. I said I was lactose intolerant, and he ordered me a dairy-free latte without me even asking. I asked, surprised, "How did you remember that?" He shrugged. "I listen." That felt rare, special. Over the next month, we met up regularly. Coffee turned into long walks, walks turned into late-night calls. He became the person I'd text first thing in the morning, the person I wanted to tell everything to. He told me about his family, his strict father who wanted him to be an engineer but never asked what he wanted, his younger sister who looked up to him, his dream of starting his own tech company one day. I told him about mine, my parents' expectations, my fear of failure, my insecurities about not being good enough. He listened. He never judged. He'd say, "You're more than enough, Maya. Don't let anyone make you feel small." I started falling for him, not because he was perfect, but because he made me feel seen. 2 months in, things shifted. We'd been on a video call. It was past midnight. We were talking about everything and nothing. He looked at me differently that night. Softer, more intense. He said, "You're beautiful. You know that, right?" I felt my face heat up. I said, "Stop." He said, "I mean it. You have no idea how beautiful you are." There was a pause, a weight in the air. He said, quietly, "I wish I could see you more." I asked, "What do you mean? We see each other almost every day." He said, "No, I mean really see you, all of you." My heart skipped. I knew what he meant. I said, "Ethan," he said, "I'm not asking for anything you're not comfortable with. I trust you, and I want you to trust me too." He sounded so earnest, so genuine. I said, "I do trust you." He said, "Then show me." I should have said no. I should have ended the call. But in that moment, I wanted to prove it, that I trusted him, that we were real. So I did. I turned off the lights. I positioned the camera and I let him see me completely, vulnerably. The photo I sent him after wasn't just revealing, it was everything. No clothes, no barriers, just me. He responded immediately. He said, "You're perfect. God, you're perfect. This stays between us. I swear on everything." I believed him. For 3 days, everything felt normal. He was sweet, maybe even more affectionate than before. He'd send me good morning texts, random compliments, voice notes, saying he missed me. I thought we'd crossed some threshold, that we were closer now. Then, on Thursday night, everything changed. He said, "We need to talk." My stomach dropped. I asked, "About what? Is everything okay?" He said, "Not over text. Tomorrow, 5 p.m., the old chemistry building. Come alone." I said, "Why there? That place is creepy." He said, "Just come. It's important." I barely slept that night. The chemistry building smelled like mildew and forgotten things. I found him on the 3rd floor, standing by a broken window, his back to me. The late afternoon sun cut through the dust in sharp lines. I said, "Ethan?" He turned slowly, but something was wrong. His expression was cold, blank. He said, "You came." I said, "You told me to. What's going on? Why are we here?" He pulled out his phone, held it up. On the screen was my photo, the one I'd sent him, the one that showed everything. My heart stopped. He said, "I need you to do something for me." I asked, What are you talking about?" He said, "There's a girl in your department, Sophie Anderson. I need information on her." I stared at him, confused. I said, "What? Why?" He said, "Because I'm asking you to." I said, "Ethan, this isn't funny. What's going on?" His face didn't change. He said, "If you don't do what I'm asking, this photo goes public. College portal, WhatsApp groups, your family, everyone." The floor seemed to tilt. I said, "You're joking." He said, "Do I look like I'm joking?" I felt tears sting my eyes. I asked, "Why are you doing this?" He said it so casually, like he was talking about the weather. "Because I can. You sent it to me. That makes it mine now." I said, "I trusted you." He said, "That was your mistake." I tried to grab his phone. He stepped back, almost laughing. He said, "Don't be stupid. I have backups, cloud storage, encrypted files. Even if you destroy this phone, it doesn't matter." I begged, "Please, don't do this." He said, "Then do what I'm asking. Get close to Sophie, find out who she's dating, what her routine is, get me her phone for an hour. That's all." I asked, "Why her?" His jaw tightened. He said, "That's none of your business." I said, "I can't." He said, "You will, or everyone you know sees what a little slut you really are." The word hit me like a slap. He walked past me, stopped at the door. He said, "You have 1 week. Don't disappoint me." Then he was gone. I stood there shaking, staring at nothing, trying to understand how the person I trusted most had just become my worst nightmare. I didn't tell anyone. How could I? What would I even say? I sent the photo willingly. I trusted him. This was my fault. That's what I told myself. For days, I walked around campus like a ghost. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart would race. My roommate, Rebecca, noticed. She said, "Are you okay? You've been acting weird." I said, "I'm fine, just stressed about exams." She didn't push. I was grateful. On Monday, I saw Sophie in the library. She was sitting alone, headphones in, typing away on her laptop. I'd seen her around before, but never talked to her. I sat down across from her. I said, "Hey, you're Sophie, right?" She looked up surprised. She said, "Yeah?" I said, "I'm Maya, psychology department. I've seen you around." She smiled politely. She said, "Oh, hi."
I asked, "Mind if I study here? All the other tables are full." She said, "Sure, go ahead." We sat in silence for a while. Then I started making small talk about professors, about assignments. She was nice, sweet, a little shy. Over the next few days, I made it a routine, sitting with her, walking to class together, getting coffee. She started opening up about her family, her dreams of studying abroad, how lonely she felt sometimes. I hated myself for what I was doing, but every night, Ethan would message me. He asked, "What did you find out?" He demanded, "Is she seeing anyone?" He said, "I need more. Work faster." And every night I'd send him scraps of information, hating myself a little more each time. 2 weeks later, he asked for her phone. He said, "I need you to take it just for an hour. Bring it to me." I said, "No, I can't do that." He said, "You don't have a choice." I begged, "Ethan, please, I've done everything you asked. Isn't that enough?" He called me. His voice was ice. He said, "Listen to me very carefully. Tomorrow, you're gonna take her phone. You're gonna bring it to me. And if you don't, I'm gonna send your photo to your father's work email, to your brother's school group, to every single person in your contact list." I said, "You're a monster." He said, "And you're running out of time. Midnight tomorrow. That's your deadline." He hung up. I sat on my bathroom floor and cried until I couldn't breathe.
The next day, I met Sophie at our usual cafe. We ordered drinks, talked about an upcoming assignment. She excused herself to the restroom. Her phone was on the table. My hands were shaking so badly I almost couldn't hold it. I looked around. No one was watching. I grabbed it, slipped it into my bag. My heart was pounding so loud I thought everyone could hear it. I texted Ethan from the bathroom. I said, "I have it." He said, "East parking lot, now." I found him leaning against a car. He took the phone without a word, pulled out a small device, connected it. I asked, "What is that?" He said, "Spyware. I'm cloning everything. Messages, photos, passwords, location data." I asked, "Why are you doing this to her?" He didn't look up. He said, "She rejected me, humiliated me in front of people. No one does that to me." I said, "So you're going to ruin her life?" He said, "I'm going to teach her a lesson." I said, "You're sick." He finally looked at me, smiled. He said, "And you're helping me. So what does that make you?" I had no answer. 5 minutes later, he handed the phone back. He said, "Put it back. And Maya, this isn't over. I'll need you again soon." I went back to the cafe, slipped the phone onto the table. Sophie came back, completely unaware. I excused myself early, went home, and threw up until there was nothing left. A week later, Sophie disappeared from campus. Rumors spread like wildfire. Her private photos had been leaked, intimate messages, things she'd shared with someone she trusted. People laughed, shared screenshots, made jokes. I saw her once, outside the counseling center. Her eyes were hollow, empty. I wanted to tell her I was sorry, that I didn't have a choice, but I couldn't even look at her. I thought maybe it was over. But 3 days later, Ethan messaged again. He said, "I need money." I said, "What?" He said, $5,000 by Friday. I said, "Are you insane? I don't have that kind of money." He said, "Then find it, borrow it, steal it, I don't care." I asked, "Why are you doing this to me?" He said, "Because I can, and because you'll do it, unless you want everyone to see what you really are." I tried everything. I asked my parents for money, lied about needing it for a college trip. They gave me $1,500. I borrowed from friends, made excuses, took a loan from a sketchy app that charged insane interest. By Thursday, I had $3,500. It wasn't enough. Friday came. I met him in the same parking lot. I said, "This is all I could get." He counted it, looked up at me. He said, "This is only $3,500. I said, "It's all I have, please." He grabbed my wrist, hard. He said, I said $5,000, not $3,500. I said, I can get the rest, just give me more time. He let go, smiled. He said, fine, 2 more weeks, but next time, I want $7,500. I said, that's not fair. He laughed. Fair? Nothing about this is fair, Maya. Get used to it. He walked away, leaving me standing there, empty and broken. That night, I hit rock bottom. I sat in my room staring at a bottle of sleeping pills, wondering if it would be easier to just stop. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. The message said, I know what Ethan is doing to you. You're not alone. We need to talk, Julia. My breath caught. I said, who are you? She said, someone he destroyed, just like you. Meet me tomorrow. I'll send the address. For the first time in months, I felt something other than fear. Hope. The cafe was small, quiet. Julia was sitting in the back corner, her face tired but determined. She said, you're Maya. I nodded. She said, sit. I did. She said, he's blackmailing you. It wasn't a question. I asked, how did you... She said, because he did the same thing to me 3 years ago. My heart sank. I asked, how? How did you find me? She said, I've been tracking him, watching his patterns. He always goes after the same type. Smart, trusting, vulnerable. She pulled out a folder. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. She opened it. Inside were photos, printouts, screenshots. 12 girls, 12 names, 12 stories just like mine. I said, oh my God. Her voice cracked. She said, some paid him, some disappeared. One tried to kill herself. I paid him for 2 years, over $60,000. I sold my jewelry, took loans, ruined my credit. And when I had nothing left, he just moved on. I asked, why didn't you go to the police? She said, I did. They said I didn't have enough proof, that he was too careful. He uses VPNs, fake accounts, burner phones. By the time they investigate, he's gone. I asked, so what do we do? She leaned forward. She said, we make him confess, on camera, with witnesses, and then we bury him. The plan took 3 weeks to set up. Julia had connections, a journalist friend, a lawyer, someone in the cybercrime unit who owed her a favor. But we needed evidence, real, undeniable evidence. I messaged Ethan. I said, I can't get you the money, but I have something else. He said, what? I said, there is another girl, richer than me. I can get you access to her. A pause. He said, who? I said, her name's Brittany. She lives in my building. I've seen her parents. They have money. Another pause. He said, send me her picture. I sent a fake profile Julia had created, a girl who didn't exist. He said, interesting. Set up a meeting. I want to meet her. I said, when? He said, Saturday, the Blue Lotus Hotel, 7 p.m. Bring her. Perfect.
Saturday came. The Blue Lotus Hotel had cameras everywhere. Julia's journalist friend had already planted recording devices in the cafe area. 2 plainclothes officers were sitting at nearby cables. Ethan arrived at 7:15, confident, smiling. He said, where is she? I said, she's running late, but I wanted to talk to you first. His smile faded. He said, about what? I said, about how long you've been doing this. He said, doing what? I said, blackmailing girls, ruining their lives. He stood up. He said, what the hell are you talking about? I said, I know about Sophie, about Julia, about all 12 of them. His face went cold. He said, you're playing a dangerous game. I said, no, you are, and it's over. That's when Julia walked in, and behind her, Detective Michael Torres and Officer Sarah Mitchell. Ethan's face drained of color. He said, this is a setup. I said yes, and you just confirmed everything. He tried to run. The officers grabbed him. They seized his phone, his laptop, found the encrypted folders, the backup drives, the evidence of extortion from 12 different girls across 3 years. But that wasn't all. When the cyber team cracked his devices, they found something else. A network. He wasn't working alone. 3 days later, I got called back to the police station. Detective Torres looked grim. He said, "We found something on Ethan's laptop. Chat logs with someone else. Someone who was feeding him information about you." He turned the screen toward me. Messages, dozens of them, about my schedule, my habits, my vulnerabilities. The username at the top made my blood run cold. Phoenix_R, Rebecca's gaming handle. He said, "Your roommate was his informant. She's been helping him for 8 months." I felt like the ground had disappeared beneath me. I said, "No, that's not possible. Rebecca would never." He said, "She was getting paid $1,500 a month. We have bank transfers, messages, everything." I confronted her that night. She was packing when I walked in. I said, "You sold me out." She didn't turn around. She said, "I needed the money." I demanded, "For what? For what, Rebecca?" She said, "For my mother's treatment, her cancer treatment. I was drowning in medical bills, and you were too busy with your perfect little life to notice." I said, "So you destroyed mine?" She finally looked at me. Her eyes were red. She said, "I didn't know it would go this far. He said he just wanted to prank you, to scare you a little." I said, "You're lying." She said, "I'm not. By the time I realized what he was really doing, it was too late. He had dirt on me too. He threatened to tell everyone I was his informant if I didn't keep helping." I said, "You could have told me." She said, "And say what? That I betrayed you for money? That I'm the reason your life fell apart?" I said, "Yes, because that's the truth." She turned away. She said, "I'm sorry. For what it's worth, I really am." I said, "Get out." She said, "Maya," I yelled, "Get out." She left that night. The police arrested her the next morning. The trial took 6 months. Ethan was charged with cybercrime, extortion, harassment, and distribution of intimate images without consent. 12 girls testified, including me. He showed no remorse. Even in court, he smirked, like this was all a game. He got 8 years. Rebecca got 3 years probation and a restraining order. The photos were scrubbed from the internet as much as legally possible, but I know they're still out there somewhere. But here's the part they don't tell you about revenge. It doesn't feel satisfying. It doesn't fix anything. It doesn't undo what happened. Ethan is in prison, but I still check my locks 3 times before bed. I still cover my laptop camera. I still panic when I get messages from unknown numbers. Rebecca is gone, but I still wonder if I could have seen the signs, if I could have saved myself. Sophie transferred to another college. She never spoke to me again, and I don't blame her. 6 months after the trial, I did something I swore I'd never do. I started a podcast. I told my story, anonymously at first. Then, eventually, with my real name. Other girls started reaching out, sharing their stories, their fears, their survival. We built something, a community, a safe space. And one day, I got a message. It said, "Thank you for speaking up. He tried to do the same thing to me last year, but because of your case, I knew what to do. I reported him immediately. He's in jail now because of you." That's when I realized something. Revenge isn't about destroying the person who hurt you. It's about making sure they can't hurt anyone else. I still have bad days. Days where I can't get out of bed. Days where I hate myself for trusting him. But I also have good days. Days where I help someone else escape. Days where I see a girl stand up in court and say, "This wasn't my fault." Days where I remember that I survived. And that matters. This is my story. If you're reading this, if someone is threatening you, if you think there's no way out, document everything. Find others. Fight back. You are not what happened to you. You are what you do next.